Good afternoon, everyone. Welcoming you all to yet another interesting and most needed session of FB Live. Liver is the largest solid organ and largest gland in our body, playing a vital role of detoxification. The three solid causes for a liver disease are alcohol, obesity, and viral. Depending on the severity of the cases, the medical treatment is comparatively costlier and lands in no permanent cure, and the only solution will be a liver transplant. Today we have with us Dr. Madhusudanan, consultant surgical gastroenterologist and liver transplant surgeon, Apollo Specialty Hospital, Madurai. Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon.
Doctor, tell us how to keep our liver healthy.
So, most important thing is we should understand that liver is a vital organ in our body. It's almost equivalent to heart. So, keeping our liver healthy is paramount for our general health and well-being. So, as you rightly told, keeping the liver healthy depends on staying away from alcohol, maintaining your body weight. You should, if you are already obese, you should shed off your kilos, have good healthy eating habits. Then the other problem that can affect the liver is virus. So nowadays, any hospital you go, you have a universal screening for viruses. So screen for liver specific viruses and get vaccinated or treated. So these are the things that is going to make your liver healthy, and it's very important that we stick to a good lifestyle to keep our liver healthy.
So doctor, what are the factors that affect the liver?
So as you told, and it is going to continue from the previous question, the most important factor that is going to affect liver is one, habits like consuming alcohol. That is the number one factor, especially in our country and especially in our state. So staying away from alcohol is very important. Second factor that is going to affect the liver is our body weight. Being obese definitely is going to affect the liver. Around 50 to 60% of the patients who are obese, who are fat, are diagnosed to have fat in the liver, what is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Second, there are viruses that can affect the liver. These are the most common causes, which covers around 70 to 80% of all the liver diseases. There are other less common causes, but for the general public, I think it's very important that they should be aware of all these three things, because causes are well known. These are the three things, and remedies are also at our hand. You follow a good healthy lifestyle, you stay away from alcohol, you screen for your viruses and get vaccinated. So this is going to keep your liver healthy, and this is how you are going to promise yourself a long lifestyle, a long lifespan.
Doctor, explain us what is fatty liver and what precaution should be taken with a fatty liver.
Yeah. So what happens in fatty liver is the liver is generally a red to pink shaped organ, pink colored organ that sits in the right side of our abdomen. What happens in fatty liver is fat gets deposited and slowly the liver becomes yellow. Second thing is, when the fat gets deposited, 10 to 20% of those patients for whom the fat gets deposited can have inflammation within the liver, and that makes the liver become diseased. And once the inflammation occurs, it is called what is called a non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. So the fatty liver becomes diseased, and it can progress to severe forms of liver disease like cirrhosis of the liver, and in very small percentage of patients it can even progress to malignancy. Liver cancer can occur as a complication of fatty liver.
So doctor, coming to acute liver failure,
Yes.
is liver transplant the best option?
Yes. So most of the patients with acute liver failure, generally they present with jaundice. Then they present with what is called altered mental status. They will, the child or the adult, they will have jaundice, and along with jaundice they have what is called encephalopathy. That means they appear confused, they talk in a confused manner, sometimes they are less responsive. So that is called acute liver failure, and many patients can be treated in an ICU setup, a dedicated liver ICU. We have a dedicated liver ICU in Apollo. Can be treated in an ICU setup, can be monitored, can be treated, and can be salvaged. But still, 40 to 50% of the patients will need a liver transplantation for survival. So in these patients, 40% of the patients, without transplantation, survival is not going to be there. So it's very important for us to understand that in acute liver failure, transplant plays an important role.
So doctor, what causes the liver enzymes to be highly elevated?
Okay, so we have a set of liver enzymes. It is not a single enzyme. We have liver performs several functions in the body, and these functions are handled by the enzymes within the liver. And depending on the disease process, there can be different sets of liver enzymes that can be elevated. So what generally causes these liver enzyme elevation is one, injury to the liver. The injury can be due to alcohol intake, the injury can be due to virus infection. Second, there can be block. You all know that liver secretes bile, and bile is necessary for digestion. This comes out of the liver through a channel, it is called a bile duct. If there is a block in the bile duct, there can be an elevation of enzymes. So if you have a elevated liver enzymes, then you should analyze which part of the liver is in trouble, so that we can sort out the treatment for those conditions.
So coming to carcinoma of liver,
Yes.
if someone has a GTT of 63 and if the person has a history of hepatitis
Mhm.
and an occasional intake of alcohol, what is the risk?
See, GGT is one of the enzymes, as I already mentioned. So generally in patients who have a raised GGT, these patients tend to have a higher prevalence of alcoholism. So alcoholics can have a raised GGT. Generally the association of GGT with carcinoma of the liver does not generally exist, but whenever the patient has a high GGT, then I am going to suspect that patient is still actively drinking. So that is how I look at these enzymes, the enzyme rise. And what is the second part of the question?
How about the carcinoma of the liver?
Any patient with liver disease. So I have to generally tell you, whatever be the agent that causes injury to the liver, as we told, majority of the liver diseases caused by alcohol, obesity that causes fatty liver, third, viral diseases. So any of these processes initially causes fatty liver. Second, the fatty liver progresses to what is called cirrhosis, and from this point, when the liver becomes cirrhosis, the cirrhosis is nothing but the liver becomes hard and very nodular. So what is generally a smooth liver becomes hard, shrunken, and a nodular liver, something like an orange, surface of the orange, the liver becomes like that. So once this condition comes into picture, then from this point the liver can progress to liver failure. The liver can develop cancers within these cirrhotic livers. So the moment cirrhosis occurs, then all the problems of liver failure comes into picture, and that is where we have to take care of these patients very well. That is when these patients become liver disease specific patients, and we have to take care of these patients for giving them a better life support and a long life.
Focusing on liver transplant,
Yes.
where is the liver transplant necessary for a patient?
Yeah. So as I told, cirrhosis is the point in the natural history of liver disease. Whatever be the etiology, whether it is alcohol, whether it is virus, whether it is obesity related liver disease, the moment cirrhosis comes in, the liver starts to become a failing organ. So liver will show signs of liver failure. There are several signs of liver failure. The prominent ones, what the general public knows, what they might have seen in movies and television, is they will have jaundice. So you have yellow eyes. Then they can have blood vomiting. then they can have a swollen tummy and swollen legs. So these are the signs of liver failure. You have a patient who has jaundice, you have a patient who has blood vomiting. So the moment these things come into picture, this is called, technically we call it decompensation. For a general public we can call it liver failure. The moment this comes into picture, we should really think in terms of doing a transplant for these patients, because without the transplant, survival beyond a year, for example, today I am seeing a patient who has a blood vomiting. Survival beyond a year will be less than 50%. For example, I see 100 patients who have blood vomiting. After a year, only 50 of them are going to be alive. So the moment the liver starts failing, we should really think in terms of transplant, discuss with the family, and then put them on the road to transplant.
Doctor, is there any age limit for liver transplantation?
Generally, the upper age limit will be around 65 years, but this is not a hard and fast rule. Yeah, transplant is a major operation, so we need a good heart. The patient who is going to undergo a transplant should have a very good functioning heart. So as we know, elderly patients can have this or other problems in the heart. They can have a bypass that would have been previously done, or they have a blocked coronary vessel. So any patients who has heart disease may not be a good patient for transplant. So in general, patients beyond 65 years of age, we will screen for their heart disease. If there is no heart disease, if the patient does not have any other illnesses, and the patient's physiological age seems to be good, so in that case we can still do transplants beyond 65 years. But as a general rule, 65 years of age is supposed to be the upper limit of age for a transplant candidate.
So doctor, what is the success rate for liver transplant?
What we have found in the last 40 to 50 years since the first transplant had been performed, in the last 50 years, the global community was surprised to see an enormous success rate in liver transplant. So the liver transplant is a major operation. It takes a lot of doctors to do the operation. It is not like a single doctor treats 30 patients. It is like 30 doctors put together as a team treat one patient who is going to undergo a transplant. The success rate is enormous. We have something called 1 year survival is around 90%, and 2 year survival is around 80%. So the success rate is enormous, success rate is huge. That is why all these doctors come together as a team and do the transplant. That is why we take all the risks and do the transplant. More importantly, comparing a patient who doesn't undergo a transplant, who has a lifestyle of like a lifespan of 3 to 6 months, when this particular patient is compared to someone who goes for a transplant, he has a 1 year survival of 90%, he has a 5 year survival of more than 60%, and is going to be getting better day by day. So we have a very good success with transplants.
So doctor, how long does it take to get a new liver?
See, what happens when the patient is put on a road to transplant is generally the patient and the family will have two options to take. One will be a cadaveric liver transplantation, where we have a patient who is brain dead, and the family who is brain dead due to a head trauma, they meet it up in an accident, and they have a unsalvageable head trauma. So the family shows consent for donation, and in those patients what we do is we do a multi-organ harvest, and the organs can be transplanted to the recipients. We can take several organs from brain dead donors like kidneys, liver, pancreas, corneas and all. So that is one way of doing transplant. The second way of doing transplant is living donor liver transplant, where you have one or the other member in the family who can donate part of the liver for the recipient. So the time scale is going to be different in these two situations. For example, if you have a living donor liver transplant, once the donor is ready, we can do the operation. But when we are going to go for a brain dead donor donated liver, what's called a cadaveric liver transplant, then the patient has to go through a government-run program where we fix up the patient, list the patient in the waiting list, and on an average the waiting list is somewhere around 6 months to 1 year. So the patient has to wait for a period of 6 months to 1 year, during which time we support the patient with all the treatment that is available. So when they are going to get the liver, the organ, then at that time we can call the patient for a transplant.
So doctor, other than the time limit, what is the difference between the living liver donor transplant and cadaver liver transplant?
Yeah. So that is a good question. So what happens in a cadaveric liver transplant is generally the entire liver is transplanted to the recipient. That is one. In a living donor liver transplant, as I previously told, one of the family members donate his or her part of the liver. So it is only half of the liver that is going to come out of the donor and that gets transplanted into the recipient. So the difference is, there are a lot of differences, but from a general point of view, the difference is this, you in a cadaveric liver transplant you have a whole liver, but in living donor liver transplant you get a half liver. But does it matter when it goes into the recipient? No, the liver volume, generally when we do a living donor liver transplant, we see how much liver is needed for the recipient and then we do the liver transplant. So the volumes doesn't matter. What matters in my point of view is the waiting time. So I see several patients who have a donor in the family where we can evaluate the donor and do the transplant as and when is needed or at an earlier date. But when a patient gets registered for a cadaveric liver transplant program and they do not have a donor in the family, then the waiting list is going to be really, really significant. Especially in our part of the country, the waiting list is anywhere between 6 months to 1 year. So many patients can have lot of problems during the waiting period, and we need to tackle them in this period. And this period is going to be really tough both for the patient and the family. Before they get the liver, the waiting period is going to be really tough.
So doctor, tell us more about a pediatric liver transplant.
Yeah, so pediatric liver transplant, again it is a very, very, very important and a fascinating field of medicine, where the children who have liver disease, and as I told, the reasons for liver disease in adults are different, for children it is different. In general, for children, what we call medically is it's a congenital liver disease, where children are born with liver disease. They are born with some changes in the genes that regulate the enzymes within the liver. So these are the children who are going to have a life that is going to be marked by struggle with their liver disease just because of their birth. So these are congenital liver diseases. The only hope for these children is to do a transplant and give a new liver to them so that they can have a long life. And what happens in children is either of their parent, mother or a father, can donate. Second, since children are small, the need for the liver is also going to be a very small. So the donor's mother or a father can donate only a very small portion of the liver. So from the donor point of view, it is going to be a very, very, very simple, straightforward operation, and they are going to donate only a very small portion of the liver. Again, from the recipient point of view, the child who is going to receive the liver is going to receive from either of his or her parents. So again, immunologically, the acceptance of the liver is going to be really, really good. So I personally used to say pediatric liver transplant is one of the most heartwarming specialities to pursue, because the children are going to have very transformed life after the transplant, and they are going to be the longest survivors after the transplant, and they can grow up to become adults. They can have a meaningful life after the transplant. They can as they grow up as adults, they can go for school, college, get married, have the next generation. So pediatric liver transplant is definitely a boon, for the children who otherwise do not have any other option other than transplant when they have a end-stage liver disease.
Doctor, explain us the major risks involved before and after a liver surgery.
So the risk before and the risk after a liver transplant, I will just discuss what happens before and after a transplant. So generally transplant is a major operation. So it is like the surgery is done for around 12 to 14 hours. So the patient gets into the operation theatre, becomes anesthetized, and then we do the operation. And since this is a major operation where a lot of things are involved, generally two teams will be operating. One team will be removing the liver from the donor. The other team will be removing the liver from the recipient, and in between what we call a bench surgery, where we prepare the liver so that the liver sits in very well while we put inside the recipient. So this is a teamwork where there are specially trained liver surgeons, specially trained liver anesthetists who are doing it. The risks generally are the risks that are part of any operation. Second, these patients can have a lot of bleeding, so we need to do blood transfusions. These patients after the transfusion can have fluctuations in their blood pressure, in their pulse rate, in their body temperature, which has to be tackled. And those risks, when they after the transplantation, when they move out to the ICU, the most important risk will be an infection. So sepsis, if the patient are going to become septic, then we need to tackle them. Especially these patients will have some form of immunosuppression, so they do not reject the liver that gets transplanted. So after the surgery, the most important risk will be infection. During the surgery, the most important risk will be bleeding and fluctuations in the blood pressure.
So, doctor, what are the procedures for liver transplantation in Tamil Nadu?
The procedure for liver transplantation, when it comes to a cadaveric liver transplant or a brain donor liver transplant, is first they have to come to the hospital, get themselves evaluated by a gastroenterologist or a liver specialist. Once the gastroenterologist or a liver specialist examines them and finds them fit for a liver transplant, then a transplant coordinator, which any hospital which runs a transplant program will have any transplant coordinator. So transplant coordinator meets the family, explains about the process, and gets the patient registered in the waiting list. The waiting list is unique for every hospital, and the hospital waiting list is monitored by a transplant network of Tamil Nadu, that is called TransTran, and the waiting list is done according to the blood group. And once the patient is waitlisted, they will have a unique ID. Next, what happens is, whenever a brain donor is available, whenever an organ becomes available, then the Transplant Authority of Tamil Nadu allocates the organ according to the priority, according to the rota. So broadly speaking, the patient for a brain transplant, the patient gets registered in the hospital wait list. The government allots the liver whenever it becomes available. For a living donor liver transplant, the procedures are different. Once the liver surgeon and the gastroenterology team sees the family, they have a potential donor, then we do evaluation of the donor. Once we do the evaluation of the donor, if the donor is going to be fit, good for donation, then the family, which includes the recipient and the donor, appears themselves before a government-run committee. It is called a Living Donor Transplant Committee, and they get approval from the committee, and then we put the patient for the transplant. So this is how this is what happens in a living donor liver transplantation.
So, doctor, how to manage our lifestyle and diet post liver transplant?
That's an important question. I think that's something that everyone should know, that after liver transplantation, their lives are no different. In fact, their lives become much better than before, when they were patients suffering from liver disease. And in general, they can eat well. There is no there is nothing that is going to prevent them from eating stuff, but definitely they should stay away from alcohol. we need to ask the patients to wear a mask to prevent respiratory infections for at least for a period of 1 year, and they should regularly visit the liver transplantation team. They take regular blood checks, they take the regular tests so that they can alter the medicines that they are taking. In general, broadly speaking, after a transplant, their life is really, really fresh. They can go back to their work and they can have a good, meaningful, wholesome life after a transplant. No major restrictions.
Doctor, I have a query from one of our viewers.
Yes.
I am Ragini, 54 years old from Tirunelveli.
Okay.
My son got a liver failure and doctor advised for a liver transplant.
Okay.
Can I give my liver to my son?
Yes. First of all, sorry to know that he has a liver problem, but definitely yes, that either of the parents can donate part of their liver to their child. So there is nothing that is going to hold back from donating. But most importantly is first a medical gastroenterologist or a liver transplant surgeon should see see both the donor and the recipient whether liver transplant is really needed for the kid or we can do some medical management. Second, mother or father, whoever is willing to donate, there should be a blood group match. So we need to test the blood groups for both of them. Third, we check the liver. There are several tests that we do to identify the appropriateness of donation. So generally speaking, yes, definitely we can explore the option, but I would suggest that you consult the liver transplant team so that this can be taken forward.
I have another query from Mr. Krishnan. My dad has liver cirrhosis and now he has cold. What can he do to beat the cold? Can he take tablet or will that damage his liver further?
Yes. So this is something that I would definitely want our viewers to know. Most common cause of any problem that happens to a liver patient is infection. So I see a liver patient, the patient is put on a wait list for a transplant and he is going to wait for 6 months to 1 year before they get a liver. This 6 months to 1 year, most common cause of death is an infection. So any patient who is a liver disease patient should not take their common cold or whatever less seriously. So it is not like you take some medicines over the counter from a drug shop and take it. No, you definitely will have a gastroenterologist who is going to take care of you. So meet your doctor even if it is a small infection, because in liver patients the immunity level is quite low because liver is again one of the organs that takes care of our immune system well. So you consult your gastroenterologist regarding any medicine that you are going to take. Don't take infections lightly when it comes to liver disease patients, because infections in liver disease is the number one cause of death in these patients. So please don't take it lightly. Consult your doctor and then follow their advice.
So doctor, how to save liver when taking anti-tuberculosis drugs? What is the chance of liver damage when taking CAT2 treatment?
Yeah, anti-tuberculosis drugs are known to cause liver disease. Anywhere between 10 to 15% of the patients can have a benign elevation of liver enzymes, but very small percentage of patients, I had seen a couple of patients in the last 4 or 5 years, can really progress to liver failure due to anti-tuberculosis drugs. So managing the liver enzymes in patients who are taking anti-tuberculosis drugs is important. Any pulmonologist or any physician who puts you on anti-tuberculosis drugs will definitely ask for a periodical liver function test, a liver function evaluation, and that is the only way where we can see whether the liver is getting damaged due to an anti-tuberculosis drug, and if the liver is showing signs of dysfunction following an anti-tuberculosis drug, then the physician or a pulmonologist or a gastroenterologist will alter the medicines or stop them. So definitely you should be under monitoring through a pulmonologist or a physician when you take an ATT drug, but that's very important that you always think about your liver when you take anti-tuberculosis drugs.
I have one more query, doctor. I am a 25-year-old. How can I take proper care of my liver?
Young patients, most important thing I will tell is have a healthy lifestyle. So for having a healthy lifestyle, have good food with lots of vegetables and fruits. That's very important. Don't see that you are not putting on weight. If you have weight, you try to reduce your weight, and most important way how you can reduce your weight is restricting your foods. So restricting your calorie intake, that is going to sort out 80% of your weight loss. The other 20% will be doing a daily exercise. So that's very important. Second, young patients, young people definitely should stay away from alcohol. So taking alcohol when you are young is going to increase the chances of addiction and alcohol related liver diseases. Third, and very important, not commonly known to the public, and I see patients like this every time, is check your viruses, liver viruses. If there are liver viruses in your blood, then that can cause, that is a silent killer where the liver will carry virus for period of 20-25 years, and only after 20 to 25 years you will know that it has caused liver disease. So but when you are young, you can screen for your viruses in any hospital nearby, and then if the virus is going to be positive, that can be easily treated. Fourth will be vaccinate yourself. Now we have hepatitis A and hepatitis B vaccines available, so definitely vaccinate yourself. And even for your kids, you should ensure that the kids get vaccinated against the hepatitis viruses. So these are the ways how you can make your liver healthy.
And the next query from Mr. Vinod. I am an alcoholic and tend to drink once or twice in 3 weeks. What can be done to take care of my liver?
Yeah. So recent research suggests that even small amounts of alcohol, what is called social drinking, is going to be harmful. So as a liver specialist who see a lot of liver patients due to alcohol, I would say definitely no to any amount of alcohol. Although in Western countries you can say you can see recommendations that small volumes of alcohol, like 1 to 2 rounds in a day or so, can be advised. But from an Indian perspective, my suggestion is stay absolutely away from alcohol. That's very, very important.
Doctor, will liver transplantation be the last resort when everything else has failed?
That's very true. Medical treatment will be able to sustain any liver patient only for a brief period of time. If it is going to progress, liver transplantation is not only the last resort, it is the only resort that is going to give the liver patients hope for a long life. So liver transplantation is definitely the only treatment for patients with end-stage liver disease.
And the current trend is coronavirus. Will coronavirus affect the liver?
No, it is a respiratory virus. So generally, it is something that causes an acute illness. But what we are discussing is a chronic liver disease and doesn't have any role when it comes to liver disease.
So doctor, we are in the end part. Do you have anything else to be discussed regarding a liver transplant?
So I have a message for the viewers. So the message is this: liver is an important organ in your body. It is not just the heart. Liver is what we call an engine, a powerhouse in the body, because it is the organ that is going to convert your food into energy, and only when there is energy, all the other organs are going to function well. So taking care of liver is very important for your long-term health, and taking care of liver is fully in your hands. It is not you take some special food and nothing like that. It is fully in your hands. Very simple. Have a healthy lifestyle with good exercise. Maintain your weight. Stay away from habits like alcohol. Check your liver viruses. So very simple. Once you take care of all these things, you are going to have no problem when it comes to liver. Liver is generally a very, very good organ which has a good fighting spirit. For example, more than 90% of the liver has to be damaged, so for the patient to manifest a sign of liver disease. So that means what? The liver is going to really fight. So you have to be very conscious about this fact, and then you should take care of the liver well. And only when you take care of the liver well, you can avoid all these liver diseases, because liver diseases is not only very troublesome for the patient, but it's also very troublesome for the family and very, very expensive. For example, the cost for a transplant is going to run in lakhs. It is going to be more than 20-25 lakhs, and cost for any patient who undergoes liver treatment is going to run in lakhs. So to prevent all this, have a safe lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, and have a healthy liver. Thank you very much.
For appointments with Dr. Madhusudanan, consultant surgical gastroenterologist and liver transplant surgeon, Apollo Specialty Hospitals, Madurai, please contact 0452 434 1092, 0452 258 0892. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you very much. முடிச்சிட்டோமா? தமிழே பேசலையே.